it was like, if you were lucky, you might see a women's wrestling match on TV. And a lot of times it would be like bra and panties. And I have nothing against that, but there's also women's wrestling where women can do everything that men can do. And I really wanted to see more of that on TV.
Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling network on the planet.
Welcome to Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet. My name is TK Trinidad, and today we have an amazing show with nothing but amazing guests. She is a true pioneer whose career has spanned continents, promotions, and accolades. From her early days in ECW and the prestigious WSU championship, she has continually pushed the boundaries of what it means to be a wrestler, manager, and champion. Please welcome one of the co-founders of Women's Wrestling Hall of Fame, Angel Orsini. How are you doing?
Namaste, TK. How you doing?
I'm good. I can hear the Jersey accent come out. I'm good. I'm good. I can't complain at all.
Awesome. I'm glad to hear it. Thank you so much for having me on and allowing me the opportunity to connect with your audience and talk about my career and, of course, women's wrestling.
Yeah, thank you for coming on. I have been watching the Women's Wrestling Hall of Fame social media pages for quite some time, so definitely excited to talk about it. One of the pioneers as far as highlighting women's wrestling. So for those who don't know, can you tell us a little bit about how Women's Wrestling Hall of Fame came about?
So the Women's Wrestling Hall of Fame came about when I started working on a project with filmmaker Chris Anino, the Circle of Champions documentary, the women's wrestling documentary that kind of just got bigger and bigger and bigger because there's just so much to tell. And right. What I saw happening was that there were people who were getting involved with the project that really wanted to influence the narration to focus on them. Mm-hmm. And in women's wrestling, a lot of people, may or may not know if they've ever heard me on interviews before. I'm really a behind the scenes kind of person. I mentored a lot of women in this business and pushed them to become Hall of Famers. And I knew that they had that potential. And for me, it's always all been about how far can women's wrestling go? When I first started, it was like, if you were lucky, you might see a women's wrestling match on TV. And a lot of times it would be like bra and panties. And I have nothing against that, but there's also women's wrestling where women can do everything that men can do. Mm-hmm. And I really wanted to see more of that on TV. So Women's Wrestling Hall of Fame came about because I saw how people were trying to influence the narrative and focus it on a very few people. And there was no way that I was going to have that because women's wrestling has spanned almost 100 years. Mm-hmm. So, and also one of the things that I've experienced is the increase in women's amateur wrestling. So there were a lot of women that wanted to do wrestling in like high school, but they wouldn't let them, or they wouldn't let them wrestle the guys. Right. And now look at where we are. We have weight classes and everything. It was the same thing with MMA. So the Women's Wrestling Hall of Fame is about that. It's about promoting, preserving, educating, uniting, and inspiring the history of women's wrestling, but also the future of women's wrestling.
And then with that being said, you guys have you had the top 40 last year. How do you go about kind of picking the inductees and like the top 40 and stuff like that?
So we have a committee, and we also do outreach on social media to take nominations from fans. Mm-hmm. And then the committee goes and, we want to try to evenly distribute every class that gets inducted in for each year to span like pre-TV era, TV at its prime, classic era, and then, current. And then, of course, the MMA and the amateur women.
And so with that being
Oh, sorry. So they have discussions about that. I'm not a part of that committee. I'm somebody who makes nominations, and but I'm more on the ambassador side of it and pushing it. And I will say something if I see something's out of order, but we have a great committee, and they're very dedicated to the highest ethical standards. So it's been going pretty well.
Yeah. What I did notice too, and you mentioned it, is kind of definitely bridging the gap between past and present generations. Oftentimes you have, these awards and stuff like that, and it's, rewarding the people that we see now. But the people that we see now wouldn't be here if it was for the people back then. And, we don't have as much of a, back then we didn't have social media and a tracking system and stuff like that. So really the balance between the two is really, really important and appreciated.
Yeah. And if we don't know where we came from, then we can very easily end up back there. So we can't ever forget how much progress we've made.
Now, with that being said, talking about progress, let's get into like your career. They merely made a highlight. It's so crazy. It's like after the pandemic, it feels like we're in this like weird time warp, because last year WrestleMania in Philly was just last year, but it feels like 3 years ago. But anyways, they made a highlight as far as like ECW, and you were one of the ECW like originals. So kind of, can you like highlight moments that, when you think about ECW, that you remember and that you'd like to share?
Yeah, oh yes, definitely. I mean, I bleed ECW. I just, it was such a great experience, such an honor to be in the locker room even. And I, as a wrestling fan, loved ECW. I thought it was the best on TV. Didn't have the highest production value as far as, fireworks every time somebody went out, but the stories and the matches, everybody was working so hard. It was such a standard of like basically blood, sweat, guts, and that was the standard. You had to really work your guts out. And I was honored to be able to be included in that and given the opportunity to display my expertise. And I loved it. It was hard work every single day. You would go to the venues and you'd be working out in the ring as soon as that ring was done. And people would be coming to try out and try to get a spot as a dark match or whatever. And, some of those guys had to have their tryout match with me. So
really?
Yes.
So
I was there every single time. I didn't miss not once.
So what was that like? Because you see, like now, one of my co-hosts for the new show we do, we kind of like almost pandemic wrestling babies. Like we have a lot of women wrestlers come out of the pandemic. But as far as like becoming a wrestler back then, what was that process like?
It was a pretty demanding, because there were not like women that there wasn't a school that was known for like women at the point that I entered the game. I came from mixed martial arts. I was already traveling the world fighting MMA. It wasn't called MMA yet. Different schools had different names for it. But when I went to Japan and fought and I saw the Japanese women wrestle, that's when I was like, ding, strong style. And that's what I was like, I want to learn strong style. That's what I want to do. So I started training with the guys, and they were laying it in. And I was like, I was fine with it because, my first trainer was Liz Chase, and she had a great career in Japan. And, but I wanted to really do the strong style and do the hardcore style, so I had to start training with guys. There's only so many girls that could do that and would do that. I was blessed enough for my last 6 weeks to train with China, and my first match, my professional debut, was against China down in the Biketoberfest in Ormond Beach, Florida, at the Iron Horse Saloon. It was great. And when you start off like that, it's hard to maintain that arch. So that's why I thought, you know what I need to do? I need to start wrestling guys, because I'm training with the guys all the time. And because there was just so much hair pulling and, the manager style of cat fighting going on a show. And I'm like, you know what? We don't need to stop that. Y'all can continue to do that, but let's add an extra women's match on there, and let's have women that can go and do what the guys are doing, do a suicide dive out to the outside, finish with a moonsault, do hurricanranas, and so that's where it was at for me. And so I had a match, and I met Teddy Long, and Teddy Long had an organization in Atlanta, and they allowed me the opportunity to wrestle hardcore matches with the dudes in Atlanta. And that lit it on fire for me at that point. I was like, I want to do this.
Oh my gosh. You just named, China, everybody, it's just such a great career. Another person that you had a really great match with that's quite known is the iron match that you had with Mercedes Martinez.
Yes.
Like that was like, when I saw that match, it's kind of one of those, again, it's the time where we are right now where you can look everything up on YouTube. But when it happened, it wasn't, it was accessible, but it's not as, our phones weren't as advanced back then, etc. So could you tell me a little bit about like that match and, how you prepared for it, and, all the things that kind of came, and, obviously wrestling Mercedes.
Oh yeah. Mercedes Martinez is my favorite opponent. We've had every kind of match, and she was trained by Jason Knight, and then with the Samoans. So she was strong style too. So it was great. We built up to that Iron Woman match. I was champion of WSU, and we had some kind of like 4 corners matches, triple threat matches. She's trying to get the title from me. I was totally a heel. I loved it. I loved being the bad guy, and it's just so much fun. And then it built up. I think we even did a steel cage. We did a Texas bull rope match. And then the Iron Woman match was the kind of pinnacle of the rivalry. And it went over 60 minutes. It was in Boonton, New Jersey. And we went everywhere around the whole entire building, and it was like a theater, and it had balconies. So we went up one side, did the balcony, came around, did the other side, did balconies, then did all the way down to the ground. That was huge bumps all over the place. We went outside the building, took falls on the ring truck. I mean, there was traffic. We were fighting in the streets, like literally. It was really crazy, and the fans were there for it. I mean, I don't think they realized it was over 60 minutes, that match. Something like 64, 67 minutes. I'm not sure.
That's crazy. So at the time, or even now, when you look at, women's wrestling, and I think you mentioned it earlier, it's kind of, well, actually, it might have been before we started recording, like where women's wrestling is now, you kind of envisioned it to be where it is. So, are there other things that your hopes for women's wrestling that, the organization, the Hall of Fame, hopes to kind of accomplish?
Oh, yes. We've been, our future plans are to have events and make it even bigger, of course. this is just despise not small beginnings.
Mhm.
And, everything we're doing, everybody's just 100% volunteering everything, but we would like to do where it's like autograph sessions and bigger events with show, and then do the inductions and maybe make it like a weekend long thing.
Mhm.
So that the fans can really absorb it, right? Because I think I go to a lot of these autograph events, and it's like everybody's trying to get in, and they only have from like 10 to 3, and then
Mhm.
everybody's like gone, unless there's very few that are like big. There's a couple of promoters that I feel like do such a great job, and they make it like the one in Queens, and then Tommy Fierro, he does a great job. But there's plenty of fans, so there's plenty of room for more of these type of events. That's not going to take away from what anybody's doing. And
Mhm.
I think I've always done everything I do is with the hope to create more of a platform for my friends and my sisters. Like, to me, my sisters and my brothers, like wrestling, that's what it is. It's a family business for me.
Mhm.
And I genuinely love everybody, especially those that I love to hate in front of fans and beat up. Those are my favorite ones.
So what would be your advice to women wrestlers, like, that want to get into the business now?
So right now, when I'm in the process of redoing, I'm redoing my whole website. I'm creating blogs.
Mhm.
I'm going to be having 2 different blogs. One's going to be about women's wrestling, and one's going to be about being a wrestler and
Mhm.
advice about if you want to be a wrestler and a fighter and all that kind of stuff. So my website is angelorsini.net. I encourage people to keep that for future reference. Probably going to launch it the 1st of February with the
Okay.
new blogs. I'm going to be also launching my book. I don't know if I can pull that off for the first. It's going to be an ebook,
Mhm.
but it's going to be my memoirs. And
Okay.
yeah. And pretty soon I'm going to be launching a system for people who want to do wrestling. It's kind
Mhm.
of like a getting ready to start, and how do I find a school? How do I, and I mean like real legitimate schools. There's a whole lot of shadiness that goes on.
Mhm.
And there's a shadiness going on with me right now because some people are claiming that they were trained wrestlers. And I'm like, wait a minute, going to a seminar for 3 to 4 hours does not mean that you're a trained wrestler. Being a trained wrestler, it's a minimum of 3 to 4 months of just the basics. Okay.
Mhm.
To really, really be a wrestler, if you want to be on TV, be prepared to make a commitment that's years long. Now, I know the people that are really outstanding at wrestling. We make it look easy.
Mhm.
It is so hard. I mean, the first thing you got to get over is you got to get over your own ego, because you want to have a vision for you and what you want to do. But you got to remember, people are buying a ticket because it's about their experience at the show. So you have
Right.
to transition your whole mentality, because if you are only doing this for you, then I don't know that wrestling is really for you. Maybe MMA or amateur wrestling and Olympic style wrestling might be more for you then, because to be a really good pro wrestler, you have to make it about the fans that are at the show.
Right.
Yeah. And so it depends on your personality and your level of dedication. You have to be dedicated. You have to decide, like, I really want to do this, and this is what I'm going to do, and no matter what it takes. Because it could take some people, it takes 6 months and they're ready to have their first match.
Mhm.
Some people, it could take a year or more. It really depends on how often you go and how much you put wrestling in front of you to watch it. Like, watching other people who are great helps you pick up the things that you need to do. And you should always be also looking at what's on TV and then looking at what you're doing and comparing. So some people just want to do the moves. I just want to learn how to do all the moves, and I want to win, and I want everybody to see me win my match.
Right.
But it's not about that. Yeah. It's really, you got to do the moves. It's got to make sense. Like, you don't do your finish move in the first minute of the match, because then where do you go from there?
Right.
We already did, a suicide dive outside the match in the first 2 minutes. Okay, then what are you going to do for a finish? Are you? It's just, you got to think it through. It's got to make sense, and that takes time.
So now, as far as women today, who's two questions: who are you watching, or who are you most impressed by as far as wrestlers today, and then who's on your Mount Rushmore?
So I would say currently, there are so many amazing women right now. And I have to say, some of them I'm very biased on, like Zelina, right? I remember Thea. I'm the one that introduced Thea, that helped her get her tryouts, and I was her first few matches and really worked with her. So I'm definitely biased. I love Zelina. And Charlotte Flair is amazing. I mean, because I always was a Ric Flair fan. And actually, there were times when I lived in the South and wrestled mostly in the South. That's my promo, whether you like it, woo, and I would do a figure four and do that stuff. So, I love that. Let me see. Bailey is awesome. She's amazing worker. She can have a great match with anybody. And let me think. There's so many new girls. It's hard for me to remember their names, but I was impressed by the new girl. I forget her first name, but her last name is Rodriguez.
Oh, Raquel Rodriguez.
She was on NXT. Yes, Raquel. That's it. Yeah, her style of wrestling is very much like mine. So I recognize everything she does makes great sense, and I like it. And I love Asuka. Am I saying her right?
Asuka,
that's it. She's awesome. I love her whole character. She's excellent. I love people that are characters. If you want to go out there and be a good wrestler, you got to be willing to make a fool of yourself. If that's, you can't, and what I mean is, you can't have limitations. You can't have restrictions. You just got to go completely all the way, 100%. With no filter, and yeah,
that's why I really also like TNA, because they kind of color outside the lines. Some stuff are just not that. Some stuff are just kind of like out of this world, like Rosemary's character. It's just kind of like you normally don't see too many people with face paint on, but like even down to the pay-per-view that they had yesterday, it was just kind of like she's been in the game for so long, and it's just, she manages to reinvent herself over and over again, but within the confines, or not the confines, within kind of like who she is. And that's just amazing. That's why I'm really impressed with TNA, the Knockouts division. And, I feel like NXT is coming up as well. But as far as the Rushmore, who's on your Mount Rushmore for women?
Well, I would say Rosemary would be one of the ones on my Rushmore, because she came out with something that nobody else did. And she is an amazing talent. Absolutely. Mickie James, hardcore country. She's awesome, man. She's just so amazing. Now, are we saying of all time or just I'm just saying current people who are currently wrestling right now, Rushmore.
Yeah, we could do of all time. It's your list.
So this just the current ones that are wrestling now. And I love TNA, by the way, and I think TNA is just so well written and well produced completely, entirely, even for the dudes. The storylines are always amazing. I like the other girl on AEW, Abaddon. She does almost what Rosemary does, but it's different. She made it different and owned it. And Nightingale.
Willow Nightingale.
Yes, I love her. She's great. Yeah, she is just, it's hard to be a baby face. People don't understand how hard it is to be the good guy. And you always feel like that, oh, I want everybody to like me. Pressure.
Yeah. It's a lot easier to get people to hate you because, you know, everybody can pick apart things and, you know, you can say how you feel. But the baby face is definitely like Willow has it in the switch she did is kind of like a hybrid between the baby face and heel. Like she, you know, some people have it and some people don't. So she definitely has it. Now, if you could have one more match with somebody, just one match, who would it be?
That is tough. That is really, really tough because I still have friends of mine that are wrestling. Like I was Serena Deeb's first match.
Oh, wow.
So to wrestle her now would be like so cool. But of course, I would love to wrestle Mercedes again because, you know, or Mickey. Like I wrestled Mickey when she was Alexis Lurie. You know, I would love to wrestle her now as Hardcore Country. So it's so hard to say who would I out of everybody want to wrestle. Yeah, I would. All right, I'll stick with Serena.
That'd be good. Yeah, that'd be good. She's doing big things too. You've also had matches with Jazz. Do you have any stories with her?
Oh my God, Jazz and I. She's like my best friend in wrestling. I love her. Her and Rodney. We used to travel together, and I love that woman. Like, I mean, she is the kindest, sweetest, most authentic person in this business. And that's hard because everybody kind of has a front.
Yeah.
And, but she doesn't. She's who she is. That is her. And that's awesome. And it's a shame that her knee kind of shortened her career. I think she could have gotten more. It would have been great for the fans if they could have gotten more Jazz because she is the phenom. She can have a great match with anybody. And oh my God, we had so many great stories. There was one time where we had Electra driving us and she was on her phone driving us. And because I was exhausted, I think, and I was letting her drive because I had just driven for like 18 hours or something crazy like that. And so she was driving and she was on the phone and we're in the middle of an intersection. And this girl that's on her phone stopped in the middle of the intersection and just like, oh my God, banging on it. And she has it sitting behind her, banging on the headrest. Go, go, go. Don't you stop. Honking horns everywhere. And Electra's like, oh my God, you stop yelling at me. Like she was the most like New York Goomba accent out of all of us, you know? Just go. Make your turn. Don't stop. I was like, just pull over, get out right now, pull over and let me drive. Dude, I'm like, bing, I'm awake now. We all awake. They're like, get her out of that car, get her out of there, take the keys away from her. She almost kill us all.
And what was that like? What was that like, the road trips? Because like now, we're seeing, for instance, NXT, so many like women's matches, at a night, and same thing with TNA and stuff like that. What was that like when you're traveling and sometimes it's like just one women's match? It's kind of, but it also feels like there was less women. So what was kind of that compared to where we are today?
You really put everything into your match, because you were like, if we don't give them the best match of the night, and that was always my goal. When I go to a show, the women's match is the only women's match on the card. I'm like, this match going to be the best match, girl. Are you ready? All right, let's talk it through. What's the story we're going to tell here? Because you got to have a story, and story is everything. If you don't have a story, then you got to wow people. You got to give them a little bit of what they expect, but then you got to do something that blows their mind. And so that was always my intention. At least get those 3 things done and make sure that the people popped for everything that we wanted them to, booed for everything that we wanted the heat for. And if we did that, then we were happy. And I would say probably got about maybe a 98% success rate there. There were a few times where, some people you can't tell them nothing. They're just going to do what they do. So, I'm never going to argue with people. I'm not there for that. So you just work with what you got. You make the best out of it.
Something else that I'm sure had a 98% success rate is matches with Awesome Kong. So what was that experience like?
Oh my God, I love her. She's another one. She would be on the Mount. If there was a Mount Rushmore of all time, I would have to say she would definitely be on there. She is so amazing. What a talented woman. I love her. Yeah. And having a match with her was great. I love how it just scares the crap out of everybody. Oh no, she's going to get her hands on you. Run away, Angel. It's like, oh no.
She is. Another interesting thing that I noticed was at one point you were ranked as high as 22 on the PWI women's, female 50. And now we're at 250, which I'm sure is going to be bumped up next year or the next couple of years. I'm sure it's going to get to 500. What was that? What was that feeling like? And then also seeing the growth of it. At one point, I think maybe a couple of years ago it was 100, then 150. Now we're at 250. So seeing the progression. What is it like seeing that?
Oh man, it makes my heart pitter patter. This is exactly what I wanted. 27, 28 years ago when I started, I was just like, man, this could be so much more. Why don't they just give us a chance? Right. And I'm so glad that we are here. And I think it will expand more. Jason Knight's going to be opening up a school here in Jersey again. And I'm going to be working with them a lot and working out of there to try to help encourage women to that school. And then I also work out at the ECPW school up in Parsippany under Gino Caruso. So right now I'm in recovery. I had
oh no.
Yeah, I had have my foot reconstructed from when I was in WEW. I was in a ladder match that I shattered this foot and it wasn't really put together properly. So I had to have some of the hardware come out and get it
realigned,
resituated. So, but I'll be back this summer to wrestling and definitely looking to help encourage women into the schools and train with women as I recover. So it'll be good. And maybe we'll make some more Mercedes Martinez's and some more Serena Deebs And, that'll really, what's going to help expand women's wrestling is having a greater pool of talent that's always available, ready to go, and get put on shows,
Yeah. I definitely agree. We're getting to that. I don't even say we're getting. I think we're at that point where it's just, you look on social media and it's always like, oh, I'm not following her. When did she start? Like it's a constant rotation, and it's really nice to see. Like even like 10 years ago, you were seeing kind of the same group of women from all the promotions, but so many indie women are popping up, and so many women are entering the stage. It's just really amazing, and it's different shapes, different sizes. It's not just the cookie cutter version. So that's really amazing to see.
Yes, and I love that too, and we need more of that as well. You think like, for example, Asian women. How many are really well known, like on the indies, and there really isn't, or Native American women, right?
Yep.
We need to grow it. Now that we have more women of color, we need to kind of expand that to include our sisters in those other, ethnic backgrounds, because it's important for little girls and other women to see and have role models. And it's not just, and I kind of don't like it when people try to restrict it to saying, oh, little girls need to have role models. Other women need to have role models. We need to see other women succeeding and thriving, and seeing them face a challenge and overcome it for inspiration for our life.
Yeah. It's so crazy. I was watching this movie on Netflix, and I'm not gonna give away the movie, but just seeing, it was a husband-wife duo, and just seeing the wife like be a badass, and in action, like we didn't really see that, like even in a entertainment factor, and just seeing her do that, I was like, man, like that'd be so awesome to do, just kick somebody's ass. Like it's just kind of one of those things that just as women, just seeing, we're no longer relegated to, okay, this is what we have to do, like cook, the clean, the take care of kids, but you can also beat somebody up, you can also do all these amazing things. It's the same thing with wrestling. You think of, for instance, Awesome Kong, and her being pregnant back then to now, you have Becky being pregnant and coming back. Like that was not even a thing 10 years ago. So it's just so amazing to see. I don't want to say that women can have it all, because there's definitely a balance in self-care and all that stuff, but just women can do whatever they put their minds to, and it's amazing to see that.
Absolutely. And that's what my message has always been. When I first started martial arts, and I was like, okay, I'm going to be a teacher. And then I was like, well, I want to be head instructor of the school. And then the dudes at the school would be like, why are you going to be the head instructor? And I was like, because I'm a better fighter than you guys are. And the truth, and it happened where people would come in off the street and say, well, why am I going to pay whatever per month for you to teach me? I'd be like, all right, put on your gear, bro, and let's go. And I'm going to show you. And by the time I was done, they didn't even last like a full-blown round of 3 minutes. And they were like, okay, I'm good. Yeah. Where do I sign?
I love it. So circling back to the Women's Wrestling Hall of Fame, what can we look forward to for 2025?
For 2025, I think what we're going to be doing is piggybacking on some events to do our next round of inductions. I'm not sure what the schedule is going to be right now, because I'm also co-founder of the New England Music Hall of Fame. So in my head, all I can think about is that, because that's February 15th. So it's a lot it's like herding cats to, get performers all in one place with all of their people and all of that stuff. And it's kind of the same thing with any kind of Hall of Fame. where is everybody going to be at one time so that we can talk to the promoters and let these women have their honors. And there's also a tag team Hall of Fame. And I think what we're going to try to do is get some of those inductions in as well.
Okay.
That's not my deal, but I don't mind helping because I love everybody and I love wrestling. And so I want everybody to get their honors and get their recognition and feel the love. So I would tell people to stay tuned to the website. Go to womenswrestlinghall-of-fame.com. Please follow the Facebook page, the Women's Wrestling Hall of Fame fan page. You can also I have a Facebook fan page and on X, the Angel Orsini. So whenever we're doing these events and we're going to be doing awards, I always promote it. I'm also the owner of ECUSA TV, which is ECUSA TV. It's a streaming TV app. You could download it through Google Play, through the iOS App Store, or Roku, Amazon Fire TV, or Apple TV. And a lot of these events, these inductions, will be streamed after, and people can watch it on the TV channel. So that's why it's a good idea to follow my pages, because I'm the one that creates the video promos about when and how to watch these things. So, because it's not just up to me, we're a group of people that are doing all of this work in our spare time. We all also have jobs. So editing things together and stuff, that takes time. And so I can't give you a solid date. God bless you.
Thank you. No, I definitely get it. Last question before we get out of here. I mean, you've done so many amazing things, and we definitely concentrated more on the wrestling. But with that being said and done, what do you want your legacy to be?
My legacy, I want it to be that I've always sought to empower women to be their own, beat to their own drum, follow their dream, not allow anybody to oppress them and control them. I kind of, I've seen a lot of that happen to women in the business, and it's not just wrestling business. I've done a little bit of things like with the Music Hall of Fame. It's the same thing in music. That's why I got involved in it. I see a lot of musicians are kind of like wrestlers. When they get toward the end of their career, they don't have a legacy. So I would say my legacy is that I'm trying to build longevity for women and other people in the arts, to have a way to always get their recognition and have a platform to promote themselves.
There it is. I like it. Were you going to say anything else?
And I encourage people to treat their career like it's a small business. As a small business owner, I'm just starting up. ECUSA TV is a startup. It's all on my own dime. It's not making any money right now at all. It's a struggle. And if I can get through this hump, what I'm going to do with that is I'm going to open up a way to encourage other small business owners to help build the middle class in our country. I think when I study business, there was a time in the history of humans when we had a large merchant class, which we could equate to as a middle class. But instead of working for other people, working for themselves and being the middleman. And I think we're in the age where there's information, and because of the internet and technology and AI can help people leverage that to be successful middlemen and be, the storefronts for different services and products. And that's what the next phase of my business is going to be about.
I like it. With that being said, before we get out of here, can you, run through everything, all your businesses, social media, where can people find you, all that good stuff?
Thank you so much. Yes. People want to connect with me. I am the Angel Orsini on Facebook, on X, Instagram. And my website will be back up and running February 1st, launching blogs. That's angelorsini.net. My businesses are queenverse.net. That's the parent company of ECUSA TV. And then you can also go to ECUSATV.com to learn. All you have to do is take a picture of that QRC code and it'll pop up in your app store and you can download it.
There it is. Well, thank you so much, Angel, for joining us. I mean, I'm sure you have just so many stories, and I'm sure it's going to be in your memoirs. So I can't wait to read that. Thank you guys so much for watching Women's Wrestling Talk. My name is TK Trinidad. You can follow me on everything at TK Trinidad. And make sure you follow Women's Wrestling Talk on all social media platforms at www.talkpod.com. With that being said, thanks for watching Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet. Ciao for now.
Thanks for joining WWT. Don't forget to like us on all social media platforms at WW Talk Pod. Like and subscribe on all video and audio platforms, like yesterday, my G. And check out our website at www.talkpod.com. Thanks for watching Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling network on the planet.